Welcome back for part 2 of Whistle While You Work, chapter 7 of a Thora Silentblade tale. Deciding to take a more cautious approach, now that they felt less rushed, the group slid quietly down the hall, advancing the few meters to the next steel portal set into the mine's wall. Taking up positions on either sides of the door, the group allowed Thora to step forward, starting first in dwarven and then switching to the common tongue. The soldier tried to get the attention of the miners who might be hiding behind the metal door.
Rock, friends. We've come to help,
whispered Thora reassuringly, but there was no response. Just the faint sounds of fluttering. The door before Thora was solid, with no obvious handle to open it with. The steel frame was set tightly into the mine walls, not leaving much room to maneuver anything into the door. However, there was a small slot around Thora's eye level that featured a sliding metal panel. The peephole was probably intended to be used by the occupant to check outside before opening the door, but the dwarf was thinking it might help in both ways. The soldier pulled out one of a matching pair of razor-sharp knitting needles that Thora had handcrafted. With swords stowed away for the moment, the dwarf used the implement to slide the steel peephole cover aside to take a glance. There, on the floor near the door, was the body of one of the miners, motionless. Before Thora could take a closer look, some sort of stinger or some other sharp thing flew at the peephole, causing the soldier to jump back in surprise, the peephole cover slamming shut in the process. "Well, that doesn't look good," reported the dwarf. "I only saw one dwarf, but they aren't moving, and something is in there. I'll see if I can get the door open." Bending down on one knee, Thora pulled out some infiltration tools from a tactical pack inside the dwarf's cloak. It took only a moment to pry up the locking bar on the other side, signaled by the loud metal clanging sound as it hit the hard floor on the other side of the door. "Everybody ready?" asked Thora, getting both blades ready. "Take your shot if you have it. On the count of 3. Zearach lined up behind Thora, ready to fire into the room at a moment's notice. Dwayne, impatiently tapping a peg leg along to the count, prepared for the charge. Allendale pulled out a short bow, ready to support with ranged fire when needed.
3,
whispered Thora, throwing aside the steel door and rushing in. There was only a split second to assess the situation. The body on the floor, the buzzing sound, a swarm of large, insect-like creatures filling the air. The dwarf charged forward, both blades flashing through the air, sending mosquito-like creatures slamming against the wall as the steel swords sliced through their horrid little bodies. Arrows flew through the air from behind Thora, slamming into more of the swarm. There were so many of them. Pressing forward, the soldier kept swinging through the mass of flying bodies, sending one creature after another to its death, only to find more still flying about. Having reached the back of the small shelter, Thor spun around to put the few remaining creatures between the rest of the party and themselves. As the dwarf turned around, spotting the rest of the group still by the doorway, there seemed to be only one left that hadn't been taken out by the rest of the group. Annoyed and frightened, the tiny beast zipped forward, its needle-like proboscis piercing into the soldier's forehead. "Do it!" cried out the dwarf, struggling to find a way to get the wretched thing off his forehead. Zearach happily complied. Taking only a moment to size up the length of the room, the ranger drew an arrow back in his longbow. Calmly breathing, one eyebrow raised, the archer watched the struggle between dwarf and sturge to get a sense of the movement pattern before letting loose. The short-range shot by the long-distance bow sent the missile slamming into the creature's body with a velocity that caused it to explode violently all over the dwarf's face. The flowing blood streamed down the soldier's forehead, continuing over the cheeks and down to the chin. Thora used the back of a sleeve to wipe the blood off, nodding with approval. "Nice shot," complimented Thora, a small smile showing through the streaks of crimson-stained beard.